everyone, this is John and I welcome you back to another episode of the Subcontinent. Our program aims to address important issues in the subcontinent which affect the governments, people, organizations and the region as a whole. We will try to explain the issues, break down controversies surrounding them and try to have some external perspectives from experts and people. Please stay with us.
In this edition of the Subcontinent, we are going to talk about Prime Minister Modi's Make in India initiative to make the country a manufacturing hub. And we will also discuss the current state of the program and its future challenges, as well as how other manufacturing powerhouses, both continental and global, would view New Delhi's drive.
Premier Modi initiated a number of groundbreaking policies. One of the most consequential one is to Make in India. The idea is to make India a manufacturing hub catering to all sorts of products to the global market. The program is absolutely needed for India that is not doing great in this sector, with figures less than those of countries like Pakistan or Bangladesh. Although it is a beautiful vision, it only matters if it is implemented, while there are daily reports revealing new challenges for the national program.
One of several flagship initiatives of Premier Narendra Modi was the revolutionary and ambitious program dubbed Make in India.
Make in India.
The program seeks to influence a wide range of industries, from automobiles to agriculture, from hardware to software, from satellites to submarines, from pharma to biotech and so on. The aim is to make India the biggest factory in the world, manufacturing all types of products for the global market as well as the domestic needs. The impacts of such a program can be huge for the country's manufacturing sector, along with myriads of other areas. Almost everybody knows that India should boost this lackluster sector, that manufacturing should be a larger part of the country's GDP, that it can be one of the New Delhi's ways to handle the crisis in the agriculture industry, or that it may be India's best bet to attract foreign investment. But the achievements and failures of such a vast project are portraying a bumpy road in Modi's postcard vision.
The Make in India campaign is an important initiative as far as industrialization in India is concerned for two reasons. One, the pace of industrialization in India has been slow ever since countries started the strategy towards industrializing the economy. Second, there is an urgent need to industrialize the economy for generating enough employment, and this employment generation has to absorb an ever-growing workforce in the economy. So from these two counts, it's an important campaign which ideally is set to launch the economy to a higher growth trajectory.
The promise of this initiative is very attractive. Whatever you want to make in India and sell it to the world. Now, the government is trying numerous incentives to encourage companies to manufacture in India. In order to create a conducive environment for investments and attract foreign capital, India needs to change many things. But everything starts with the infrastructure. The initiative targets 25 economic sectors and aims to transform India into a global design and manufacturing hub. But the ground doesn't seem to be paved.
The Make in India started with three stated objectives: increasing the sector's annual growth rate to 12 to 14%, creating 100 million jobs, and ensuring that the manufacturing sector's contribution to the GDP will reach 25% by 2025. If you cherry-pick the data, there are some proof for improvement in some areas, but the general consensus is that the program is struggling, to say the least. The Make in India campaign has generated an intense debate on the scope of manufacturing in the country. Skeptics argue that while the growth is slowing globally, it may not be possible for India to follow the standard path of industrialization. They may be right because an export-fueled growth and capturing world markets sound like a dream even for the best economies today. However, others say there is hope as manufacturing in India still has scope to grow given the size of the domestic market.
Manufacturing has now become a globally distributed activity. A lot of global production networks that have emerged. And India now feels that India could be a part of such a globally distributed production network. Why? Because India has an advantage in terms of relatively cheap labor compared to a lot of other competing economies. So, one of the objectives which the Prime Minister really envisions through this policy is to make India a global manufacturing hub by getting into this global production networks. We also know that when India gets into such global production networks, there's also the possibility of flow of technology across regions, across firms. This could actually make a very vibrant industrial sector in India, which could actually raise the GDP. Now, please also recollect the earlier kind of a vision which the Prime Minister has been setting out. That is, the Prime Minister wants India to have a $5 trillion economy. Now, this $5 trillion economy will not be possible unless and until we have a very vibrant manufacturing sector. So, this stated objective of industrialization as a strategy for enhancing higher growth and a larger economy is the real goal behind this whole project.
Premier Modi, like many others, knew from the beginning that India does not have the proper infrastructure nor the expertise for such a transition. He even admitted that the program is ridiculed by many opponents. Those who believe in the program often talk of China as a model country that did the arduous task. They say China became a manufacturing giant not by its own tech and capital, but by absorbing others, arguing that India can do the same.
Prime Minister Modi launched Make in India campaign in 2015, hoping to lure manufacturers from around the world to produce in India. It is naive to think he was not well aware of India's limitations in the manufacturing sector. A centerpiece of his strategy to carry out the program hinges on the foreign firms bringing their own know-how. The program was meant to find ways of compensating the country's lack of adequate domestic supply chain and logistics, unavailable power sources, limited design and R&D capabilities, and inadequacies in skill development. Modi believed China did all of that in the last century, and India will become Asia's manufacturing hub in this century. New Delhi may be able to find remedies tested and honed by China or Pakistan, which are both relatively consequential for the success of the program. Considering the decreasing global demand of manufactured goods, India needs to balance its cost of labor and production so meticulously that making in India becomes more cost-effective than its rivals.
In the complex web of competition and cooperation among the Asian giants, there are always alien players trying to manipulate the world their way. The Make in India initiative has placed the United States and exclusively the administration of Joe Biden between a rock and a hard place. Washington wants India to counter some of the Chinese trade force, but it can lose a lot in the process because a booming manufacturing industry in India might shrink US's own share in the market.
Premier Modi and former US President Donald Trump were supposedly very close, but even then, Washington did not seem to enjoy an emerging India as a manufacturing power and tried to hold back New Delhi. At the direction Trump, US announced that it intends to terminate India's designations as beneficiary developing countries under the Generalized System of Preferences (GSP) program. India's termination followed the alleged failure to provide Washington with assurances for access to its markets in numerous sectors. Biden seems no different. The Trade Representative Office of the Biden administration has told the Congress earlier this year that while India's large population and economic growth make it an essential market for many US exporters, the emphasis on import substitution through the Make in India campaign has epitomized the challenges facing the bilateral trade relationship.
All right, now for more insight, we are joined by Ms. Gauri Dwivedi. She's a senior journalist fellow at the USI. Ms. Dwivedi, welcome to the program. So, what is the impact of Modi's initiative on the economic ties with China?
As far as Prime Minister Modi's fresh impetus towards manufacturing is concerned, the effort really is to try and grab as many companies exiting China as possible. So there could be some pain for China's manufacturing. Having said that, one needs to understand the scale at which China's manufacturing sector has expanded. It has about 28% of the world's manufacturing output. India does not command that kind of a share, that kind of a heft as far as manufacturing is concerned. So I don't see a major impact in terms of being able to create a large dent towards China's manufacturing. But what it can do is that over a period of time, if Indian companies start import substitution, which is that they don't import a lot of raw materials from China, then it could have an impact towards the Chinese economy. We all know that the trade balance that China and India have is skewed in favor of China. India imports a lot of raw materials only to make those finished goods. So if there is some import substitution that takes place by domestic companies in India, then there could be some pain for China.
Wow, well, 28% is a huge chunk. Do you think India can beat that? And what other hurdles do you see in the process of India achieving its dreams? How will Beijing respond to that?
We're some time away from being able to realize that kind of a potential. India needs to first create manufacturing engines in several parts of the country. There needs to be large-scale infrastructure connectivity to be able to achieve those kind of dreams and aspirations. India has an aspiration to become now self-sufficient. Atmanirbhar Bharat, the clarion call that the Prime Minister gave last year in May, is an attempt to be able to drive manufacturing in India. But to become Asia's manufacturing hub means to beat not just China, but also beat some of the other Asian engines, which is Vietnam, which has gained a lot of traction in the last couple of years, which is to beat also Thailand, Japan, Taiwan. So those are very stiff targets that we may be putting ourselves against. But I think if some of the basic issues are addressed, India can sort of get onto that path. Again, I want to reiterate that fact that India cannot replace China as far as manufacturing is concerned. Not so soon, not so immediately, because we need to put the big rocks in place. However, what we can do is try and compete more effectively with some of the other countries, whether it is Japan, whether it is Taiwan, in terms of the semiconductors and the electronics industry, in terms of some of the low-hanging fruits, we can compete with Vietnam more effectively, and then, of course, get onto the path towards competing with China. If India does any of this effectively, of course, China will feel the pain. It may not be so immediately, but it could be in the medium term.
All right, Ms. Dwivedi, before continuing, let's just take a quick look at how the global media has covered this situation, and then we can continue.
Prime Minister Modi started the clarion call to make in India, but some others added a clamour of boycott everything Chinese to muffle the demand of made in China. India is getting vocal about local at a time when China is relocating manufacturing sites to other developing countries and businesses are replacing manpower with machines. Is replacing Made in China with Make in India thus pure daydreaming or an achievable feat? India is seen as the second best cost-effective option in terms of market size, labour, land and opportunities after China. But the competition from Indonesia, Vietnam, Taiwan and Thailand is not to be taken lightly. India's latest set of incentives to entice businesses moving away from China seem to be working, with companies from Samsung Electronics Co. to Apple Inc.'s assembly partners showing interest in investing in the South Asian nation. Analysts believe that investors from China have intelligently synchronized the Indian government's Make in India program with their investments. The Chinese do not align their investments because of the fear of the authorities, as the Western media would have us believe. As with any international investors, Chinese investors also look at tax-saving opportunities to decide not just the destination of investment, but also the source from which the money will flow. The US and India started to work in the fall of 2019 aimed at producing a package of meaningful market access outcomes, and this engagement continued throughout 2020. The objectives of the US in this negotiation included resolution of various non-tariff barriers, targeted reduction of certain Indian tariffs, and other market access improvements.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Dwivedi, for staying with us. Welcome back, and let's continue with the questions. So, considering the higher cost of labor in China, can India provide a better alternative for manufacturing goods? And is China more cost-effective, or is India more cost-effective?
Yes, indeed. India can definitely look at the labor cost arbitrage that has weakened the case for China. In the last couple of years, I believe the overall costs of labor in China has risen very substantially. So they don't have that cost arbitrage that they used to have originally. But then one needs to understand that some of that market may have been captured by Bangladesh, may have been captured by a Philippines or a Vietnam or even Thailand. So India may not compete for the low-hanging fruit, so to say, or the sectors where there's not a major technological advantage needed and only the cost arbitrage matters. In those sectors, India may not be competing so much with China as some of the other smaller countries. But as you move up the technological chain, as you go up in terms of research and development, that is where I believe there will be stiff competition that will come from China going forward, because I believe China has already identified research and technology as its next big frontiers. You know, the Make in China 2025, the 2035 plans, they're all attempt to now go up the technological chain, because they've understood that the cost arbitrage due to labor prices, they are losing that. India needs to capture that market from some of the other countries, not so much China alone, but some of the other countries, and then also get onto the path towards research. We cannot, that is, India cannot afford to take the same 40-year cycle that China did, which is from 1979 when they opened the SEZs till now. We need to sort of fast-pace that entire trajectory and need to move further ahead to identify those R&D areas, those research areas where technological advancement could really be the big game changer for India.
Okay, that's a fair point. Now, how does the campaign affect the trade relations between India and the United States?
See, India and US trade relations did go through a lot of twists and turns in the last 4 years. New Delhi and Washington came very close in terms of security objectives, but they went far in terms of their economic goals. And that is unfortunate. Even the very long-standing trade deal that was in the works, still is in the works, could not be achieved because there's no meeting of minds. Though there's a change in regime in the US, some of those concerns may carry forward to the Biden administration as well. And that pain in terms of not being able to see eye to eye on key economic issues is really going to be felt in the next couple of months as well. Though I feel the Democrats have traditionally viewed economic ties with India far more closely than the Republicans. And I believe some of those thorny issues will be addressed. For instance, the visa issue. It was very, very important and dear to former President Trump's heart. It is not so for Biden regime. There will be relaxations on that front. Even the other GSP regime, there will be some sort of relaxations that will come in. The moment they do, obviously there will be reciprocity that will come in from India as well. And that will sort of break the ice as far as this whole 2 years of I put tariffs, you put tariffs, then again I put counter tariffs, that whole tariff after tariff cycle that has created negativity could probably unwind with some of these measures that the Biden administration, I think, is likely to take.
All right, I know you brushed onto this, but I would appreciate if you could go a bit deeper into this issue. What is the Biden administration stand towards this project exactly? And is it different from that of former President Trump?
No, so as far as Make in India is concerned, Make in India was a very ambitious project. It started in 2014. We sort of stuttered all along, and then it got a fresh lease of life last year with the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign. To that effect, I think American companies are going to welcome the fact that there will be an alternative manufacturing destination outside of China. During the pandemic, everybody realized that putting all your eggs in one basket is harmful, injurious to health, and that's exactly what happened for companies as well. They want to diversify, they want alternative locations outside of China, but those which have some sort of infrastructure connectivity, some supply chain linkages, if India offers those to American companies, they would lap that opportunity. Trump may have gone, Biden may have come, but their view on China is the same, and their long-term view that China is going to be their big strategic rival and needs to be addressed in all parameters is going to remain. And to that effect, if India offers credible alternatives to the Chinese manufacturing bandwagon, there will be many takers in America. If American companies are offered tax breaks, if they're offered some sort of special windows for 3 to 5 years, if they come and set up manufacturing in India, they will lap that up. And in fact, there will be political support for such moves as well. So in my sense, if the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign takes off, there will be many takers for that in America.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Dwivedi, for being with us and sharing your insights. Viewers, now let's take a look at how people are responding on the social media and cyberspace.
Piyush Chandelier has named some companies that are leaving China for different reasons and pointed out that how Make in India can be a great opportunity for employment in the country. Air Kamal Pandey has mentioned some of the Indian products that are used in the country's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Another Twitter account has boasted about the quality and design of some Indian products, noting that buying Indian products generates jobs for the people of the country. CJ Varghese has called on the government to stop all the unnecessary imports. He believes this can improve the design component of the Make in India initiative.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was our episode on Premier Modi's ambitious but necessary initiative called Make in India. For a full dish of the tastiest bits and pieces of our show and more subcontinental updates, follow us on our social media platforms. We shall meet the same time, same day next week. Thanks for watching.